Some movies have such a huge reputation that they're actually hard to talk about. I think that's High Noon for me. This is a movie with such a massive reputation. Listen, it's a multiple Oscar winner. It's one of the most influential films of the entire Western genre, arguably influential on films outside of the Western genre. The impact of High Noon on the adult television Western, Gunsmoke, Rawhide, is immeasurable. It's also a movie made against the backdrop of the Hollywood blacklist. And so there's all these things that shadow over this movie that make it very hard to talk about. Listen, it's just been given a lavish 4K release by Paramount in association with Kino Lorber. Gorgeous transfer. It's got HDR. It's the best the movie has ever looked, probably ever will look. But I want to talk about the film. We are going to talk a little bit about the disc, but I want to talk about the film because this is an opportunity to talk about one of the most important Westerns ever made and try to separate it from some of these talking points that do tend to overshadow it. John Wayne called it the most un-American film he'd ever seen. Now, I want to unpack that over the course of this video. If you've never seen High Noon, let me set a baseline. I don't want to spoil this for you, but I got to give you a little bit of what the movie's about. So, it's Gary Cooper, it's Grace Kelly, the future Princess of Monaco. At the beginning of the film, they are being married. Gary Cooper has been the marshal of this town. He's stepping down. He has resigned as marshal. He's marrying this woman, and they're leaving town. They're going to start a family, run a store, but the new marshal won't be in town until the next day. Meanwhile, the outlaw Frank Miller, who Gary Cooper put away years ago, has been released from prison and he's headed to the town that Gary Cooper lives in looking for Gary Cooper. He gets off the train at High Noon and his crew is waiting for him. We got Lee Van Cleef. If you're thinking about Once Upon a Time in the West, it's a direct reference. It's a direct shadow, a ripple of High Noon. That's Leone homaging his influences. Jack Elam was in this movie. Sheb Woolley, the guy behind the song The Purple People Eater, is in this film. Also, he's the voice of the Wilhelm scream. If you know the Wilhelm scream, that's Sheb Woolley. It's from a movie called Distant Drums. It's just sort of a Western, but it takes place in the Everglades. So the point is, these outlaws are coming for Gary Cooper. Blood and death will follow in their wake. What is his responsibility? Is it to the law, even though he's not the marshal anymore? Is it to the town, even though he's leaving? Is it to his wife and this new family that he wants to start? It's a movie about a crisis of conscience. And there are no easy answers here. And that's one of the things that I think is what makes this movie hard to talk about, is because you either agree with the premise or you don't. Now, here's the really controversial thing, is that throughout the film, Gary Cooper goes to, because it's not an episode of The Lone Ranger. It's an adult Western about emotions and about really complicated situations made in the aftermath of World War II. This movie is 1952, based on a 1947 short story called The Tin Star. See other 10. I made a review for a movie called The Tin Star recently. The impact of this is huge, you guys. World War II is immediate. It has just happened. They lived and they saw, they lived and they died, and they knew people that died, and they saw things, and they saw brave men face situations that were impossibly bigger than them. It's all here. That's what this is about. So Gary Cooper knows that he's fighting this alone. He goes to all the townspeople asking for help. One by one, they turn him down. No one will stand with Gary Cooper. And John Wayne hated this. He thought that this is one of the things he said was un-American. Howard Hawks and John Wayne were so repulsed by this. By the way, John Wayne was offered the Gary Cooper part, but he turned it down because he didn't like the screenwriter, who was the blacklist situation. But then Gary Cooper is, of course, also a very conservative guy. So we cannot bring strict politics into this conversation because it's bigger than that. It's so much bigger than that. And then, of course, later, John Wayne would joke that he wished that his agent had offered him High Noon. So it's a very complicated thing. But Howard Hawks and John Wayne are so repulsed by this that they go make Rio Bravo, which is sort of like, this is how we would have done it. But I think that if we separate the film from all of that and just look at the film and its merits and what it's trying to say, and really, we're not supposed to bring our baggage into a movie. We're not supposed to come into a movie going like, all right, prove me wrong. We're supposed to go into a movie and let it tell the story it's trying to tell. And then we can judge it. And I think that left to the story that it's trying to tell, High Noon is one of the best accomplishments. I mean, this is big praise, right? But it's an incredible cinematic achievement. And the dialogue for this movie, I mean, you guys, we got a screenplay by Carl Foreman, but it's based on this 10-star story, right? So there's a bleed of elements here. But the dialogue, you know, if you want to put the dialogue in any particular camp, I think it just falls into a weariness. This is one of the things that makes noir such a compelling art form in the 40s and in the 50s. Noir without World War II, I mean, we have neo-noir now, but noir in its heyday, there's a reason that noir is typically cut off in 1958. And that we say everything after that is a neo-noir. It's because that's the post-war years, when everyone had seen this conflict. They lived through this conflict and been changed by it, fundamentally changed by it. So in this movie, I've actually written this down because I wanted to get the quote exactly right. In this movie, Gary Cooper goes to one of his heroes, which is played by Lon Chaney Jr. He's this aging lawman who's now way over the hill, in decline, just a beat up old man, right? And Lon Chaney Jr. is playing older than himself, but if you know Lon Chaney Jr., that wasn't a stretch, you know? So Gary Cooper goes to him and he says, ever since I was a kid, I wanted to be like you. You've been a lawman all your life. And Lon Chaney Jr.'s character says, yeah, all my life. It's a great life. You risk your skin catching killers and the juries turn them loose so they can come back and shoot at you again. If you're honest, you're poor your whole life. And in the end, you wind up dying all alone in some dirty street. For what? For nothing. For a 10-star. I mean, I feel like that's drawn from life experience. That's drawn from the darkness of the times, from the disillusionments that a lot of people were feeling. But that's not where the movie ends. That's not what the movie is about. The movie is about Gary Cooper having had so many people turn their back on him, being terrified for his life and walking into danger. That's what the movie's about. The image, you guys, the image of Gary Cooper facing this is the image. This is one of the most famous images from High Noon. Walking into town, knowing that death probably awaits him. Isn't that what World War II was all about? Isn't that what we were struggling with as a society because of that? And later Grace Kelly says, somebody's talking to her about violence, and she's, you know, talks about people that she's lost to violence. She says, I don't care who's wrong. I don't care who's right or wrong. There's got to be a better way for people to live. These are human themes. These aren't political themes. These are human themes. And so I think out of this comes a really incredible story. Gary Cooper won an Oscar. He got an Oscar for his performance. Remember, Gary Cooper, dear friend of John Wayne. Both of them were basically on a committee for the protection of American values. Conservatives, right? One of them doesn't make the movie. One of them does. One of them has huge success, gets an Oscar. Life is complicated. All of this life is complicated. Art is complicated. And so High Noon is at the center of this. It's at this crossroads. Beautiful story, beautiful cinematography, well acted. Interestingly, the director, Fred Zinnemann, in rebuttal to the criticisms by Howard Hawks and John Wayne, basically said, it's not a movie about politics. It's a movie about a man having a crisis of conscience. Everybody's different, and everybody's going to deal with a crisis of conscience in a different way. Now, I think that's right. I think that's true. I think that the focus is on an individual, and that's what I connect with, you know? And I connect with these movies more now than ever before, and I think you guys connect with them because you see how much I connect with them when we're in this candy bar society. When you see something that touches a real life experience, it's very impactful. So, you know, I think that's a good place to sort of transition to the disc. This is a wonderful, I mean, listen, probably, well, it's not probably, it will be one of the best releases of the entire year. It's coming from Kino Lorber. It's 4K. They've given us the slipcover, you know, the O card. We've got a reversible art wrap on the 4K, so this art is great. But there's another piece too. So you have reversible art with this as well. Brand new HDR Dolby Vision Master from 4K scan of the original camera negative, 35mm. This is best case scenario. You know, I was talking to somebody the other day. First of all, if you're like, why do HDR for black and white film? Because it makes a difference. Because HDR is the best, even on black and white. It darkens the blacks. It gives it depth. HDR is essential for a 4K. I was talking to somebody the other day who works in the industry. They weren't selling anything. They weren't somebody that actually works in the selling of it. They actually work on the making it, the restoration process itself. And he said, you know, 4K Ultra HD discs are like having the film print in your hand. He's like, you know, when they make these movies, when they make these new 4K restorations, they then strike a print from the 4K restoration. So when you have the 4K Ultra HD disc, you're holding the film print in your hand. You have the film print in your collection. I thought that was important to accent, it's to highlight. I'm going to continue to do that in the coming months because I really do believe that as we talk about, you know, it's no secret that I'm fighting the movement of Blu-rays and DVDs and 4Ks being turned into baseball cards. Just as a collectible. Oh, it's got pretty colors and I like it. We're holding film prints in our hand. This is the closest we will ever get to having a film presented, a film in our library. This is the closest to the film print we're ever going to get. Unless you actually have a film print. And even then you don't have the 4K film print that's been newly struck. That's new. So that's the value of these. And this is, I'm so glad to have this. It's got an audio commentary. It's got two commentaries. One by Alan K. Rohde, who is on my Mount Rushmore of classic film historians. He brings such academic scope, but he makes it really approachable and fun, and you never feel intimidated by it. You never feel like you're being left behind. There's another audio commentary by Julie Kurgo. There's The Making of High Noon, which was I think it was 1992, co-written. I think that's not co-written, just written by Leonard Maltin. It's 22 minutes. It was made for Republic Pictures, you guys. You know how much I love Republic Pictures. Paramount has a lot of the Republic library. They bought, you know, they own Republic. And the movies that aren't in the public domain from Republic, they have. So the idea that this Republic asset is now at Paramount and that it's been included. Listen, you guys, so many of these studio releases, these 4K releases, are leaving behind Blu-rays. They're leaving behind features that already exist. So we've got the 30-plus-year-old Leonard Maltin scripted High Noon retrospective. There's also, in 2016, Olive Films put out a deluxe version of High Noon with new features. Michael Schlesinger is involved with them. Really great new features that were created in 2016. Well, Olive is no more. That disc is out of print. They've carried them over to this. And this is the 4K and the Blu-ray. So you have the best of both worlds. Future-proof your collection if you're interested in this. Get the 4K because you will be 4K capable before you know it. If for people that are like, I'll never be 4K. Yes, you will. When your TV dies and you go looking for a new one, it will be a 4K television. That's how technology advances. So future-proof your collection, and then when you do see it in 4K, you're going to be blown away. But it's got all these retrospectives. It's got all these features. It's got a bunch of trailers. I don't even know what else to say. I'm clearly very passionate about this film. If you want to dig a little deeper into the story of High Noon, I would recommend this book. This is called High Noon, The Hollywood Blacklist and the Making of an American Classic. It's by Glenn Frankel. Wrote a book about the Searchers, and it is it's a fascinating story. I mean, it's communism, the Hollywood Blacklist. That's everything we've talked about here, but there's so much more. But I would encourage you not to get bogged down in it either, because that's one of the problems that we have right now, is that we drag our politics into everything, and then we just become angry at anybody that doesn't agree with us or see things our way. And that's not the point of art. The point of art is to share the human condition. And boy, High Noon to me does that so well. That is my review of High Noon. Wow, I did it. What do you guys think about High Noon? In the conversation about this movie in the comments below, please do not spoil the film. There are going to be a lot of people seeing this video who have not seen High Noon that will be wondering if... See, when 4Ks come out for classic films, a lot of people jump on that never would have watched the movie on Blu-ray or DVD or VHS. It's the entry point for a lot of cinema these days. So please keep the conversation as spoiler-free as possible. Link in the description where you can purchase High Noon too. And if you use that link, you're supporting Cereal at Midnight. Please subscribe to this channel for more videos like this. If you want to continue to see dedicated film reviews such as this one, let me know. Thumbs up, subscribe. Guys, I appreciate you. Take care. Until next time, I will catch you later.